We've been hearing a lot about the Bombay poets. If I were not slightly frightened of her, I might have called her a Shillong poet. Uh, One of our best writers who has been produced so many wonderful novels and some of the best criticism of the past few years. But this is the first time where I am going to have the treat of hearing Anjum Hasan read her poetry. Welcome to the stage, Anjum.
Wow, yes. And
Yeah, well, actually, Vivek, you're the only one, I think, because since I moved over to fiction, practically no one considers me a poet anymore. um, Not a poet, but I do write the occasional poems. That's a different matter. The difference between writing the occasional poem and being a poet. So I was in discussion with someone this morning who's definitely a poet, Meena Kandaswamy. Some of you were there, I think. And I admire her convictions. I don't always share them. I also admire the fact that she's so resolutely political, even when she's writing very personal stuff. And I remembered, I think I told her this before we got onto the stage, that the only time I felt moved to write something that could be called an attempt at a political poem was 4 years ago when Anand Teltumde, Sangwa,
you were, or
yes, was arrested, and he wrote this article in Scroll, which said many brave things. And one of the things he said is, which really disturbed me, is that I hope you will speak out before your turn comes. And I thought, he's talking to me. I have to say something. So this was a response to Anand Teltumble's challenge, maybe. But it ended up becoming a poem about rain. It's called the Rain Eclogue. The wind is desperate here, and the rain's wild, sharpened slant knocks the power out. Quote, almost everyone traverses their lifespan from birth to death with eyes closed. If we open our eyes even for a moment, a great and terrible cry will burst forth from us, and we shall scream and never stop. Unquote. I'm reading one more disregarded novel, and you're mumbling explanations in your sleep. The storm makes tunnels of the lanes between hedgerows and houses, squalling in pain, and I think, what about hearing? Do we traverse our lifespan with our ears blocked up as well? Because try as I might, I cannot hear the howling. The landscape carries no echoes of your distress, not even monsoon furies approximate to how you would break upon us if there was anyone to listen. The rain stops. All returns to stunned peace, the crickets harmonizing with the gurgling in the gutter, and even though you said, describing dry-eyed your betrayal as they took you away, I earnestly hope you will speak out before your turn comes. We would rather not open our mouths, not even for a moment, to say what we are, shipwrecked, with all the hulking historical dreck of our divided selves. Last week, when the winds were still playing tug of war between the southwest coast and the Arabian Sea, I took in the silence, how sunlit and lazy. Just the faint buzz of welding on a new roof melding with the sighing breeze and the sweet, silly twittering. And later, walking on that winding road above folded hills that fall away to this same sea, I saw a flash of exceptional blue in the swoop of a bird and tried to memorize the shape of its tail so I could look it up in my handbook. Malabar whistling thrush, remarkably long tail, remarkably long human whistling up and down the scale, thus nicknamed idle schoolboy. With what measure of muteness to honor your saying, woman whose name I've forgotten. I can go hungry, but what to tell my children? And you, man in a million, who said, I'd rather die on the road than stay here. How to offer you more than that stifled scream? How, as the poet said, to hold in a single thought reality and justice? How to save you from becoming a washed-out memory lost to the daily drama of the rain? How the light clouds up every half hour? How romantically the mist drifts in? How fiercely a blackbird knocks at our windows each dawn, trying to kiss its reflection. So I hammered some rusty nails I found in a bag under your desk and strung up curtains on the outside to shut out that cold orange-ringed eye, to resist the battering of its lonely refrain. Our neighbor down the lane who drifts about all day, tending to his fruit trees and flowering plants, worrying about coffee prices and labor shortages, who finds the needle of his suspicion always pointing at Muslims, though he also distrusts the working classes, the feckless poor, the dubious immigrant, but who is all the same a model of decency, served his government, paid his taxes, resisted demands for bribes, dirtied hands only with his native earth. This gentleman tells me such birds can die, that is, willfully break their necks on the glass they're trying to breach. All I can do is make these broken idyls with the old phrases my father would bring up to justify literature's superiority to life. Say, the milk of human kindness. Say, sweetness and light. As the novelist knew, our eyes will never open. The draconian speaks elderly rubbish from both sides of his mouth. You, narrow, and we the hard of hearing, and we the dim of sight. And here again the rushing sweep of maddened rain, drumming loud as the cement mixer nearby, with which they're trying to create that elevated feeling the chance to make more money can bring. Plain to see in the valley before us, which is choking with gains, one profitably unpretty house after another. And then it clears to reveal the miners on the electric wires, black on black against the sky's gray blank, utterly sans insight for us who fiddle while home burns. Two poems with a Goa connection. One harks back to what I said in the beginning about not being a poet, who writes poems sometimes. And this was one of the occasions in 2017 when Eunice passed away, and some of us, Eunice D'Souza, the great Bombay poet, the great Goan poet, passed away, and some of us were asked to write poems that were published as tribute, and this is called That Art. I don't write poetry anymore. It's gone with the century past. Laconic, Bombay, square books. Madhu's photos, Dom's typewriter, Eunice's parrot.
Okay.
I glimpse it sometimes on the page. What a graceful white loneliness holds it in. What sublime disregard. I miss reading between the lines. I miss the place where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies. That long ago pact with quick laughter and ruinous pain. That slow curl of cigarette smoke rising to die on the ceiling. This one is also a Goa poem, simply because it was written in Benaulim many years ago during what I think of as my Goa phase, when just kept circling back to South Goa as a way of escaping something that I'm trying to pin down in this poem. It's called No Sentence. No sentence is as long as the waking moment of the night. Every lunchtime, butter garlic fries, the boys water the lawn. No elegy equals blood and glass. The bazaar girls spread their turquoise rings, the bazaar girls spread their turquoise rings, their owls and their dolphins. No one's earned the right. I watch a butterfly swing by the frangipani. No human is merely human. Even the mosquitoes here dream as they bite. We discuss where to go for dinner. No memory sheathes its object tight. The sun drops low, then fades out. The lanterns sway. No one can say now the world's suffering adds up. The waxing moon, the banana flower, the gin on ice. No joy is without gaudiness. No murderer lacks a name. I dream that I've gone missing. Nothing can make time go by without newspapers and screams. And yet, I always find a way to say, I mourn for it because it used to be my life. Thank you.
Such a lovely Eunice poem. Gosh.